Hello, Oil Country. Welcome back to episode 2. This is Jesse speaking. Here again in my Orange Crush, and welcome back to the Orange Crush. So today, I want to talk about our lines, free agency upcoming, how we could fill in certain positions, and some trade talk and such. So, I think there's so much more to what we all perceive and think that we can do. Everyone's like, "Oh, we only have so much room," and listen, it's gonna get into the NHL is going to get into a lot of business hockey trading moves, and that's what's going to happen upcoming. So let's dive into it. So firstly, I want to talk about our lines. First line, we have Connor McDavid. I would put James Neal on the other side, and then fill in the blank, right? So I just believe Neal at $6 million, we can't just waste him. We got to use him as, a piece. He's $6 million worth. You can't just use him on a fourth line for that. I think he still has some hockey left in him. He can score. He's still a good shooter. So, you put him with two good guys and, we might see him produce a little bit. Second line, we have Leon Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, and Yamamoto. That's got to stay together. That's a great line. They all have chemistry. No need to be worked there. Third line, we got I think a fill in a blank still at center position. Riley Sheahan. We don't know if he's going to be here or not. Of course, we could have Cassian and Archibald on the other line. And fourth line, we have a blank there in the middle again because we're just not sure. We got Kara, Patrick Russell, and Chason, presumably, on the wings. So do we fill in there? Defensively, we have Clefbaum, Larson, Bear, Nurse, Caleb Jones, and Russell. Still to sign is Benning and Bear. I believe only one will sign, but we'll get into all that. Let's really just try and go slowly because there's so much. The freaking math is out of this world. And then we have Mikko Koskinen in goal and a fill in the blank as well. All right, so I would like to see the Oilers now. We used to get in trouble back in, the early days when we were signing all these, we had Taylor Hall and Nugent Hopkins and Yakupov, and we'd throw all these guys in there right away, right? Not ready and this and that. But it's time. Cooper Marody is a guy that's got to get elevated. Let me put on my glasses here, blind. 22 years old. He's 17 points in 30 games. He's a centerman. Hey, we need a third-line center. Why do we need to go out and spend the extra on a third-line center when we can get within? This is why we drafted. We need to start using our pieces of our team and filling in the blanks. We only need, that special attraction or, free agent for a top line, for a guy that, we just don't have that. We can't get that within. So I'd like to see, Cooper Marody get his real fair chance and obviously get up onto that third line center position. Maybe that could fill in. Maybe a fourth line. We're not sure. We'll see where he is. I say third line. He's got a great chance. There is some guys out there. We'll talk about the free agents upcoming, but I'm just saying, to build within, we have Josh Curry, who had, he's 26 years old, but he had 24 goals last year in 56 games. Tyler Benson, of course, we've seen a little bit of him. He's 21 years old. He had 36 points in 47 games with the Condors. We've seen him up here. We've seen what he can do. We do need some more, size on him. And that's something that people can do over the offseason, what could be happening right now with him. And then, of course, I believe our third line future, if we don't get rid of it, depending on what happens, Ryan McLeod is our third line future. I believe that is the guy that can take the third line center for Edmonton, finally get, that depth down the middle. And that's somebody we're looking forward to. I do not believe he's ready for next year yet. He's still got some growing pains. He's very young. He's only 19 years old. So I would like to give him a year or two still, just a chance to, develop. So there are some fill-ins we can do on the third and fourth line from our own farm team. Like I said, Cooper Marody. There's Josh Curry to look at, Tyler Benson. Those three you can look at to see if they can, somehow get in there and fill in a position, battle for a position, on those bottom lines. So some free agents out there right now that I perceive as something that we can at least, choose to look at, talk to. I like the idea of possibly a Wayne Simmons, depending on the price, but I've always liked him. He's 32 years old. For a cheap bargain, putting on, a third line, really make a third line. And or maybe, can you guys see him with a Connor McDavid? This guy's scored some goals before. And he's never played with a guy dynamic like Connor McDavid, but he can skate, right? He gets to the net. Isn't that what we want for a Connor McDavid? Somebody that gets to the net, will crash, bang, open some room. I could see that being a nice 2-3 year deal if it's the right price. Edmonton going after and just seeing what he wants or what it's all about. I'm all for it. Now, some top guys that I would like, two guys that I would like to see Edmonton at least pursue. Mike Hoffman. He makes about $5.1 last year, $1 million. He had 30 goals. He's about a 30 goal scorer. And with a Connor McDavid, a 30, 35 goal scorer for sure consistently, right? He's 30 years old. I would like to see Edmonton at least reach out, talk to him, and see what he's all about. If he's willing to come here. This is a guy that's a shooter. I think that is such a type of dynamic player Connor McDavid could really use. You can get him for, I say even between $5.5 to $6 million. Somewhere right around that $6 million cap. It's perfect for Edmonton. We will get into the number crunching a little bit as we go. Toffoli is another one that I kind of would like. I've got some interest, and he might be a little bit lower, $4.5 to $5 million. Seeing what he wants if Vancouver doesn't, go and re-sign him or not. But this guy can play. He's a shooter as well. He's got a great shot. It would be, my second tier to go look at. But Hoffman would be near the first. I'm intrigued by Tyler Toffoli. I think that he's found his game again, going back to Vancouver. All the confidence in the world. And here's the thing, you guys. When I'm talking about signing these guys and I'm saying, putting them on the first line, it's because Connor McDavid will get the best and make them much better. Overall players produce those points. It's just going to elevate their game because they get to play with somebody with world class. So that's not somebody that Tyler Toffoli got to play with all this time. So to get into more of this, let's talk about our salary cap for a second because I just want to kind of go over this and then we can talk a little bit more of guys. We have $11.3 million right now without Bear signed and without Ennis, Benning, whatever we're doing. I believe we'll only sign one of Bear or Benning. If we sign both, then that means obviously we are not getting a defenseman. That will be clear as day. I believe if Edmonton wants to make a real good play, that would mean getting a one goalie and one defenseman or one goalie, one forward. Edmonton has to get rid of one defenseman that's making $4 million. That's a Russell, that's a Clefbaum, that's a Larson. One of those type of three are probably going to be on their way out. I don't see Edmonton moving Nurse unless it's significant, meaning they're getting a real good guy back, and I mean a top guy back. So I don't see it being a Nurse. I just think he has more to offer Edmonton. I think Edmonton loves that he's physical, he can skate, and putting him honestly with the right defensive defenseman or a really great defenseman is only going to elevate and make his game better. So it's something that Edmonton has to be real careful of. I know people pick on Nurse, but the thing is, you guys, Nurse has a lot more to offer, and defensemen take relatively a longer time to, establish and get better in the NHL. So it's something to really, really understand that Nurse does have a lot, and he's physical. He's going to stick up for his teammates. You do need that coming to playoff time. You cannot get rid of all that. Look at the Winnipeg Jets, how they got outclassed, outmuscled because of, the physical tool that Calgary took on them. They had no one to fight back. They used to. They got rid of all, and look what happens now. So Edmonton has to keep some, meat. And I think, a Cassian and Nurse are important for that role. So if we have $11.3 million in cap space and we get rid of a defenseman that makes 4.2, that now frees us up about $15.5 million. And then maybe if you want to re-sign an Ennis, he might sign for a 1.5. So if you re-signed a Bear and an Ennis, I always go by, overpaying a player instead of underpaying. I give Bear about a 2.3 and Ennis maybe 1.2, 1.5 tops. But okay, say you sign him at that tops, that's right there is $5.6 million. That's not bad, right? Now you got about $10 million to play with. So now, if you signed Bear and you signed Ennis, right? Now we filled in a spot. You put, Ennis, if you want him on that third line, wherever you see him fit, you filled in another position. Now you can go out and say, okay, what do we need? If they want to sign a free agent that's $5 million, $6 million, or they want to get a goaltender as well, or make a trade, they want to make a trade and bring in about $12 million tops, right? right around $12 million. So that could be either, like I said, a one goalie, one defenseman, one forward, and one goalie. I think we need to make sure we get a goaltender. We have to. For a goaltender, Holtby, 5.5 to 6 million he's going to get. Probably kind of went down a little bit, but you know, put him with a different team and a different dynamic. You never know what can happen. Look, at now we can trade. You know, with that, making that trade, I mean, if you want to go to Arizona, you want to get OEL and Kemper, they're going to have to make it a little bit sweeter for Edmonton to take on that $8.25 million contract per year for OEL, right? Maybe they take $1 million off that, right? Maybe they hold $1 million for us. So it's only 7.25. This all now works within our cap. So we have Kemper making $4.5 million. I mean, you're looking right there roughly around that $12 million, right? And then you sweeten in with Pool RV. Pool RV is interesting for us. So Pool RV is going to be a guy that we either want to keep and sign and just let's see how he plays with us. Maybe we give him, you know, a year to try and settle in and see what he's got. Or Edmonton, I believe, should be dangling him in a trade. Now, not one-on-one. He's got to be an added sweetener in there, right? For teams that want to go younger, a team that want potential. That's what these prospects and young guys are for. There's so many scenarios out there like we talked last video, but the thing is, Edmonton can make this work. They got to find the trade. They got to make sure that they can get rid of one defenseman at $4 million, $4.2 million, something like that. They need to bring back, so they have $15 million to work with when they sign a couple players. So they can sign a guy like a Hoffman, or you make a trade for an OEL and Kemper. It all will fit under the salary cap. It's how Holland goes about this and makes, you know, makes room for the cap. And he's got to be smart. You guys, when we do get rid of a, like a Larson looks good to a team. He's only got 1 year left. Russell's only got 1 year left. It's not a huge gamble for a team to take that on. So that's why that's more realistic for Edmonton to be able to get rid of and then make a little bit more room so they can bring in $12 million. The Edmonton Oilers know they got to make sure that they start supporting McDavid and getting this team going. There's going to be some movement. It's not going to be huge, but a couple added pieces is huge for Edmonton. They make sure they go and get a forward for McDavid. You got two top scoring lines like a Tampa Bay. I mean, you can do damage. I mean, who wants to play against two lines like that, especially staring down on McDavid and Draisaitl, right? So if McDavid ever gets that winger, that's why I believe it's almost important that we get a goaltender and a forward rather than a goaltender and D, because I believe we have defense coming up. We got to start bringing in some guys too, right? We got to start bringing in Bouchard's going to be upcoming and Broberg. You just don't have all this room to get all these more defensemen, right? We have guys upcoming. But Edmonton, for a top line, does not have someone upcoming. So what do? You go and make sure you got room and get a guy. And trust me, Edmonton's going to be all over this, trying to make sure they get the right trade, the right pieces. You know, and it'll only be a couple. And they can shore up with Marody and some of these guys that they already have built in their system. Marody's a guy that can come and play with Edmonton next year. Remember, this all works with a defenseman leaving Edmonton this year, making that $15.5 million to play with, and that's being able to sign, you know, a Bear and possibly Ennis, and, you know, bringing up Marody into our group next year, playing on that third line, fourth line, wherever they see fit, wherever he, you know, more looks comfortable at, and then bringing in, you know, a goaltender and bringing in a forward to play with McDavid. Quickly note, like, I like this Jake DeBrusk situation happening. Like, is Boston going to sign him or not? I mean, Edmonton definitely can afford that if they want to sweeten the pot. They can give a they can give Pool RV back to Boston. They can also give a defenseman to Boston because Boston might be losing Krug. Well, here's a Larson or here's a Russell. Go see what you can do with them. See what he's got in a year, because then he's up and then they could re-sign him or they could do whatever they want with that. But, you know, you're also giving me on Pool RV to make sure that, you know, you gave him some kind of future, you know, to play within their system. So, I mean, that's something to look out for. I think a lot of teams will be in on Jake DeBrusk just because, I mean, this guy's got a lot. I know Louis with Edmonton and both. That's not what I'm all about. It's just I watch Jake DeBrusk. This guy's got the game. He is a hard trier. He hits, he crashes, he bangs, he gets into the net. He's greasy. He's everything I have always enjoyed as a hockey player. I think it's exactly what Edmonton could use. And man, if we get him, I'm like, sign him up right on McDavid's wing because that guy will score goals. I mean, Jake DeBrusk to me fits in with a Toffoli that type of situation, right? I mean, I believe McDavid will get the best out of those guys. So, I mean, that's something that I would like Edmonton to definitely go and pursue and check. But I know Edmonton's been looking at, looking at OEL and Kemper and stuff like that. And I'm hearing Peter Mazurek. But I just think that if Edmonton's going to go cheap on a goaltender, then they better make sure they bring in a good winger and a good defenseman and move out a defenseman, obviously. So you guys out there, you let me know what you think. Thanks again for, just chiming in, talking oil country with me. I'm excited to, keep this channel growing and interact with all the Edmonton fans out there. Thanks guys so much again for watching my channel, giving it a try, giving it a listen. There's going to be so much more content. I'm Jesse here in Winnipeg, representing oil country. And let's get excited. Draft is upcoming in a few days. And then we got free agency following that. I mean, there's going to be a lot of chatter and talk and movements. And, this is time to be excited. It's off season to look forward into the next season. So let's go Oilers and see you guys in a few days. Bye.